Today in Let's Talk Crimes, Frank is going to talk to us about what do we do when the feds want to talk to you. So Frank, tell us what happens when the feds wants to talk to us.
Great question. Welcome all to Let's Talk Crimes with Frank. What do you do when they come for you? Actually, what do you do when the feds want to talk to you? It's a great topic in today's times, and I'm going to tell you why. As you all know, we're going through COVID. Many court systems are closed. The federal system, almost in the entire nation since March of 2020, have not been convening grand juries. Grand juries have to be convened for the federal law enforcement to present their case to the grand jury to determine if they're going to arrest somebody. That's how arrests occur under the federal system. So grand juries are not being convened. So why is that important to this topic today? Because it's now very common to have federal agents conduct their investigation because they have a lot of time in their hands. And there's a lot of investigations going on. So there's a lot of federal agents investigating and actually reaching out to their suspects. We call them targets, but they're suspects. And it creates a tremendous dilemma and a difficult situation for the persons who are being interviewed or being questioned, as well for those criminal defense attorneys that are going to represent them. It's a big question for a criminal defense attorney. What do I do? Do I bring my client in and speak to the federal agents that perhaps believe that he's committing a federal offense? Or do I tell him to go pound sand and I'm not going to let him speak to them? That's a great issue, and it happens every day. There's something called a federal Proffer agreement, and I'm going to tell you what that is. That is the way that us attorneys normally decide that we will have our clients speak to the feds. The way it normally happens, federal agents appear at your door, they knock on your door, they ask you to speak to them, and they sometimes tell you what it's about, sometimes they don't. Truth of the matter is that many times you know what they want to speak about. People sometimes get nervous. So I'm going to start by doing this first. What do you do when that happens, that first step? I call it the 3 C's of Marty. Those are my 3 C's. I came up with them a while back, and you hear about them in some other. Calm, collected, and courteous. You call them calmly, collectively, and courteously. Tell them that you may be willing to talk to them, but that you can't do it right now because you want to speak to an attorney. If you don't follow my 3 C's, it may not go very well for you. But if you do, federal agents are professionals. They understand that when you say you want to have an attorney, they usually respect it. They'll pull back, and your attorney will contact them. When the attorney contacts the agents, agents usually speak to the attorney more than they will speak to you. They will tell them a little bit about why they want to speak to you. They will usually tell them what their version of what you did or did not do is. And it will put the attorney in a better position to evaluate what to do. If me as an attorney or any other attorney in my position decides that it's best perhaps to have a conversation with the federal agents, it could be to dispel their suspicion, or it could be to confirm their suspicion, but to begin negotiations so you can be in a better spot later on. When we do that, we enter into something called a federal proffer agreement. It's an agreement between the federal system or the courts and the U.S. government and us that anything you say at that interview will not be used against you. But now let me tell you about that. It gets very tricky too. Most people call it immunity. That is not immunity. That is not full immunity. The feds normally don't give full immunity. They do sometimes. It's very rare. What that gives you is some immunity during that interview. Now, it normally gives you direct immunity, meaning anything that you say at that interview, if you were to be in a court of law later, because they charge you with that crime, they cannot use that statement against you. That's the protection that proffer agreement gives you. It does not give you derivative protection. What does that mean? That means that they can still use any information that derives from what you told them. You might have told them, I robbed the bank together with Bob. So they cannot use I robbed the bank against you in a court of law. But they can go and find Bob, and they only know about Bob because you told them. So I hope that makes a little sense. But that's the kind of protection that the proffer agreement gives you. And that's how we decide that we're going to have you speak to the agents. We normally get one. Sometimes they refer to it, I guess in the inner world of law, as the queen for a day letter. You get to be a queen. You can say everything you want to say. You can talk about all the crimes you committed, and they won't use that statement against you. Just keep in mind that they will use everything that derives from it.
Okay, and I think you pretty much covered everything.
I hope I did. If you are in that situation, maybe I forgot to give you another scenario. Sometimes they just knock on the door and they want to talk to you. Sometimes if you're a businessman, a lot of these are white-collar crimes. You'll hear through the grapevines that other business people have been visited and they've asked them about you. And sometimes they give them cards with the name of the agents so you can contact them. That's another way it happens. Sometimes it happens that you receive a federal subpoena to appear a certain day in a grand jury. The truth of the matter is that if you get an attorney, the attorney contacts the U.S. Attorney's Office, almost always he will be able to postpone that date and begin negotiations and perhaps end up in an interview. I hope that helps. Anytime you get a visit from agents, guys, it's almost never advisable to speak without an attorney. I can't even begin to tell you all the things that can go wrong. You may be saying something that you think it's negating guilt, and you may be stepping right into a bomb. So remember, calmly, collectively, and courteously tell the agents, sir, I want to speak to my attorney. You guys have a good day. I hope you never get that visit.
What you gonna do when they come?